Who are the best characters to use on day one for Black Clover Mobile Global on both PvP and also PvE? Today we're going to break it down and go over a quick explanation of what they do, because this video can get quite lengthy and to be fair probably will be quite long. So to not waste your time so you lot can get back to the grind of the game day one, I'll try and be as brief but also very informative as possible. So of course boys, I got us to the start of the video. If you guys are new, then do hit the like button. It will obviously help the channel get out there, let more people know we are doing Black Clover content. And of course if you are new, subscribe. We are going to be going hard on this game for the next few days, and of course these even next few years even. I plan to stick with this game for a while and not drop it after a month. If you want a reroll guide, then it should be up on the channel already, so be sure to watch it. By far probably the best reroll guide on Black Clover Mobile. It is what it is. Now, quick disclaimer, we are only going to cover the important characters. There are quite a lot of bad characters in this game that we're not going to bother ranking because they're not worth investing into. If they're not on the tier list, they're just generally not that good. If you look at the gallery, there are a few characters that are going to be coming out in the next few weeks. However, we are only focused on the characters available on launch on day one. Starting off with PvP, we have Red Asta. This guy can basically attack many times in one turn. If you attack someone at the start of the game and they have more than 80% of the HP, he gets an extra turn. This is going to be very good to try and just nuke down a character as much as possible, and going to be very good right now on day one. Mimosa is going to be very annoying because literally everything that she does do is going to constantly keep on healing the team. But more importantly, if you do actually have someone die in the team and she has an ultimate ready, she can actually resurrect someone that can literally save you the game. Blue Yami is going to be good counter toward Mimosa, having an AoE damage that can literally stop all healing on the team, but just also do a lot of damage. You don't really use his ability to stop healing. It's more or less just to deal damage, and it does a lot of damage. Plus, you can stop ultimates, so if you see someone about to ult, you can also stop it with his ultimate. Moving on to Lotus. Lotus is just going to be very, very good. Having a skill 1 that does AoE damage, but also having an ultimate that guarantees increased damage towards the enemy team. He is by far going to be one of the best characters in this game for a long time. Reroll. It takes a lot for an SR to be one of the best characters in the game, and he does it. Increases speed to where you can always attack more often, also removing debuffs, and also having a chance to increase your critical chance. On top of that, increasing your actual physical attack, and also increasing damage dealt. Like, he's by far going to be one of the best buffers day one, and if you get him as an SR, you definitely want to use him. Mars is just going to be a good tank, but also has a combined attack to where you can stun the whole team. Only a 40% chance, but on top of being a really tanky character, having an AoE stun can literally win you the game. Radies is in the same situation as Mars a little bit, just a very good tank right now, and the only character in the game too we do get to summon a well that can provide a shield for your whole team. It's very, very good. William's ultimate is insane. At the start of the match, he's always going to attack first because he does have the highest speed in the game, so you're always going to get this off anyway. So for the first turn, while everyone's using the ultimates, your team for 2 turns is going to be super tanky, but also as well, you're going to apply a counter attack towards the highest attack ally, which just means they're going to attack when they do get attacked for 1 turn. On top of that, he's going to also increase your actual attack by 84%, by the way. Like, using this onto Yami or Asta is going to make them even hit harder, and also as well make them attack even more often because you're going to get increased speed. And also on top of that, boys, you're going to have a 4% chance on your regular skill to actually turn someone to a tree. That literally stuns them for 1 turn. It's such an insane kit. Valtor's not going to be the best character right now, but it's going to age quite well when we start to get more actual magic attackers, but he's still very good on day one. Very much like Finral, his ultimate is going to make it so your team can attack more often. Increases stamina by a fixed amount is going to literally make your whole team attack first before the enemy can even attack once in PvP. This can literally just win you the game outright. But on top of that, I'm not going to be as good right now on day one, but will age quite well, especially when we do get towards Summon Noel. Like William can do for physical attack, he can increase magic attack by 70%, which is not going to be that good right now because the best DPSs are Asta and Yami. But when we do get Noel, you know, Fana, other magic attackers, this is going to be such a good skill. Moving on to S tier, Charlotte is going to be a free character and a character definitely worth using, but a bit RNG heavy. She has an actual tier 2 that can actually mark characters, and then mark characters, if they die while having the mark effect on them, will grant you 1 extra turn. So combine this with Red Asta, you are going to get a nasty little combo. However, her ultimate is going to reduce actual attack, which once again is going to be very good day one, but once you start to move in towards more actual magic attackers, this is basically useless. And it's also RNG, so this may not even proc on anyone. Red Yami, if you build them up properly, can do insane damage and can even be better than the blue one. But if the meta follows JP and KR, a lot of the best characters in the game earlier are all blue. And him being a red character, while he still can do a lot, he's going to get type disadvantage in most situations, and there's just, you'd rather use the blue one. For Goleon, going to be a bit of a sleeper character in some way because the meta is going to be mostly full of obviously blue characters, so being a very strong green DPS is going to be very, very good. But he does focus a little bit on debuff damage, which didn't really take too much off in the meta. Still a good character, but by far not the most optimal. Reroll's main use is to stun the whole team in ultimate, but it's only 40% chance, so a bit RNG heavy. And when you have characters like Mars, you can do that on his actual combined attack anyway, and also be a better character because he's a lot more tankier. You just rather use Mars. Plus, this guy doesn't really see too much play on actual attack teams. You mostly of the time use him on defensive team just to cheese a little bit, but the character's going to fall out quite fast when we do get summoned well. Sally's insane. I mean, if you look at her skills right now, you can see she's going to increase actual attack for all magic and also attack. Crit damage as well, but more importantly here, you're going to mostly focus on magic attack users with the skill 2 ability, which once again, we don't really have that many magic attackers turn 1. The big DPSs are physical with obviously Asta and Yami, so when we do get towards Summoner well and more actual, you know, magic attackers, this is when Sally's going to go up the tier list, but for right now on day 1, you're not going to really optimize his character too much. Nozel, once again, main use is to reduce magic attack. Most of the meta right now, day 1 should be physical attack, so he's not going to see much play. There's no point. I think there is a little bit of a combined attack combo you can do, but quite a lot to invest into when it's never really meta. Leopold, yeah, not really that great. I think he did get buffed and it might carry over towards global, but the burn meta never took off really. Once again, being a red character when the most of the meta is going to be mainly blue, he's not going to do too great. Honestly, you know, is not the worst SR. He's definitely not the greatest, and I wouldn't recommend investing to him if you have better characters. But if you are free to play like how I was in JP, where you didn't have access to a lot of characters, you know, wasn't the worst character to use. Since the meta is mostly going to be blue characters, he's not that bad. But once again, I want to stress, he's usable, but definitely not worth investing to if you have better characters. But if you have no one, it's not the worst thing to use. Yeah, Jack is not good for PvP. He is a boss killer. His second skill literally buffs up. Quite a slow character, not that good in PvP, but in terms of boss fights, he's actually pretty good. So yeah, that is the PvP tier list. This is the only characters I recommend using PvP. Now let's move on towards the PvE tier list. What you mainly want to focus on is just clearing as fast as possible, but also clearing with a lot of AoE skills. So someone like Lotus, for example, that has literally just 2 AoE skills, and the main skill, the skill 1 being AoE, of course, this guy can be very, very good. So he's, of course, by far the best character to use. Mars is a good tank character, so he's just going to make it so you can tank a lot. And trust me when I say it, some of the PvE bosses or even like characters just to hit so hard, so to have a tank character is going to be very, very good. Yami, once again, having a skill 1 that does unreal damage is by far going to make him one of the best PvE farmers. Going on to the S tier, we have Charlotte, has 2 AoE abilities that can be quite nice, and in some situations that mark target will grant you 1 extra turn and will help you clear a little bit faster. Should be pretty good to farm manually, but when it comes to auto, it can be a bit RNG, but once again, just granting you that 1 extra turn, sometimes it's going to make your runs a lot faster. And when you're trying to optimize 100 runs a day, it's going to be very, very good. Radius has some AoE damage, but once again, trying to keep your team alive is going to be very, very good. Blue Yami is going to be good against some boss fights, but be somewhat decent in AoE farming. He's got 1 AoE skill, which is not the best, but it does do a lot when you are trying to optimize your speed running on the actual blue gear farming stage. Moving on to Finroll. Finroll is just going to be good to use in any PvE content. Once again, if you're clearing bosses, getting in like 5 turns of attacking before they can even attack once because you have so much speed and stamina is going to be very, very good. Just once again, increasing your crit chance, crit damage. He's such a good character. Not the best for AoE farming, but in terms of clearing content that you want to clear for the first time or even boss fights, he's going to be very, very good. William, not the best, mainly because his counter attack and fortify typically runs out before they even attack you. Not the worst to go against certain boss fights in story mode where you can cheese a boss by literally just keep turning to a tree. When it comes to farming stages for gear, not the best character, and most big bosses are actually immune to the tree, so not the best, but still with the physical attack buff you can do, it's going to be pretty good. Mimosa is in the same situation as William. Once again, you don't really care about healing because you're trying to clear as fast as possible. But if you are a bit underleveled, she is going to make it so you can keep on healing and kind of cheese a lot of the bosses. Soul is a pretty good character. If you're unlucky and you didn't get Mars, she is kind of a good substitute. Having actual Taunt, having attack lower and magic lower, she is going to be a good free-to-play option if you don't pull characters like Mars to help you clear through the blue gear dungeon. You know, once again, being a pretty good DPS character, if you don't really have a lot of characters, if you are free to play and you are very unlucky with your summons, he is a character that carried me through a lot of content until I started getting better characters. Jack, same as last time, focuses on doing slow build-ups and slow buffs to where you can do one-turn nuke. Good against boss fights that come out every so often, but not needed. And also when it comes to PvE farming, not good. Definitely not good, right? But once again, when you're doing one solo boss, he is pretty good. Asta, once again, full single target damage. You don't want to use this when you're farming. Good against boss fights. Once again, very good against boss fights. But other than that, his gimmick of actually attacking more than once is only really going to work once. Still good damage, but you're not going to use it too often. Leon, only really good in boss fights. Kind of it. You can use him in some PvE farming, but you'd rather not. Sally is in the same situation as PvP. There's not characters out right now that can fully benefit from an actual magic attack buff, but she is more or less focusing on just buffing up and solo killing boss fights. Charmy, from what I saw, was a pretty decent healer to use in your gear farming if you're trying to do it manually. Not good in, obviously, auto, but if you're trying to clear for the first time, then, yeah, you can use her. Valstus is not the worst. His main use, like I said already, is to attack more often with this ultimate, which is definitely more important in PvP. In PvE, you'd definitely rather go towards Finral. Now, Zell, I might be undervaluing him in PvE farming. 2 AoE abilities could be kind of good, but me personally, I'd rather use other characters. But sure, in PvE farming, he might be kind of good. And if you don't have that many characters, then he's not the worst one to use. Real, once again, kind of a cheesy PvP guy, so it doesn't really translate too well into PvE. Ghosh, I feel like, has some use when you're doing a couple of boss fights. You have to use 8 characters, so he could be one of the characters you want to use. And all of his skills have a chance to perform extra attacks. It's, not the greatest character, but I have, and I think I used him and seen a few use out of him in some boss fights. Noelle, once again, you're going to get for free, and not the worst character to use. Wouldn't recommend it, and you're going to probably use some of Noelle in a few months, but it's, yeah, not the worst. Asta, if you build him up, can be quite tanky in some boss fights, and if you don't have that many characters, using this guy in your 8-man team is going to be not the worst. Fredemosa, just a worse version of the School Academy one, but hey, if you want a healer and you want someone who can cheese a couple bosses, she can do that, but once again, you might as well just get the green one because she's free. Alright, so it's going to wrap up today's video. Hopefully it did help out and you now have a better understanding about what are the best characters to use in PvP and also PvE. Looking at the PvP tier list, you really only want to use the SS and the S tier because those are all the top tier characters, and if you compare it towards the PvE tier list, a lot of them are also in the top tier teams as well. So yeah, that's going to wrap up this video. A second reminder to leave a like, and of course, if you guys are new to subscribe, because these videos do take quite a while to make and I put a lot of effort into them. So boys, thank you for watching. Let me know in the comments down below who you lot are using and what you lot are doing for farming and your PvP teams. I'm curious to know. So boys, thank you for watching, and yeah, peace.